Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Multi-billionaire T. Boone Pickens said this: work 8 hours and sleep 8 hours, but make sure they're not the same 8 hours. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, especially at this time of the world, call for the pledge. And a good morning to you. And believe me, it's a little difficult for this old cowboy to get out of bed early in the morning. I was a little bit relaxed for 3.5 weeks. Good morning, everybody. Brought to you by, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with the best of tires for all your vehicles. And, of course, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living, a beautiful place, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. There you go. Let's go to the phone line and have a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, in liberty and justice for all who come by it justly.
A little addition, but notably worth it. Thank you very much, Earl. How's everything up on the mountain this morning?
Both campfires are going, and I'm warming up to that 10-foot step ladder again.
Hey, God bless you for doing the pledge. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All my best to all.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much, Earl, up on the mountain this morning. You bet. Thank you. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger. Hello, Roger. And out at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them. The rental of the best tools and equipment anywhere, anytime, and they can help you with any project. You're not sure what you need? Talk to them. They can help. They've got equipment for both long and short-term rental at K&R Rental. Number to call, 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Fairly decent for most of the week, but maybe by this weekend some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting partly sunny skies with a high of about 50. Tonight mostly clear, low of 25. Winds are going to be just pretty much non-existent. For tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 50 with an overnight low of 26. Looks like 53 for Friday. Then by Saturday, partly sunny, 54. Maybe by Saturday night, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast. We are expecting a low of 31. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
No, Gina does a great job, and this weather forecast, very comprehensive, and I appreciate her. K&R Rental brings you the weather, and believe me, as I said earlier, they've got all the best of tools and equipment for what you need to finish any project. Don't be embarrassed. If you're not sure what you need, they are the experts and can help you, and they will. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, 678-3122. All right, good morning, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. A quick reminder, I'm going to be saying this on multiple times today. Don't forget tomorrow, lunch bunch, tomorrow, lunch bunch, tomorrow, lunch bunch. There you go, at Denny's. And, of course, that's at 611 North Overland in Burley. America's Diner. All the delicious food. Deanne is hooked on those strawberry crepes. She loves them, and they are good. So come on down to Lunch Bunch at 11:30 tomorrow. We'll be there. We've got all kinds of door prizes to give away. Not doors, a lot of prizes. Walmart, we thank Smith's Foods, Handsome Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's. Thank you very much. And we're going to be having delicious food at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland and Burley. How true it is America's Diner. All right, your thoughts are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I went to my grandson's basketball game last night. Kimberly took on Filer and won, and now they go to the state tournament. I'm very, very proud, Grandpa, of both all my grandsons, but the two that played last night, Dawson and Jackson Cummins. And I did not have the opportunity last night to watch the debacle. That's about the only way I can put it. But I got home. I followed as much as I could on the news last night. Then I got up early at 3:45 this morning and started tuning in for all the clips of the news and all the writings of the news that had come across the wire. It was a mess. I mean, how can you describe anything other than the word mess? CBS moderators did nothing, absolutely nothing. They were powerless to hold to the rules. I don't know what is so hard. Now, somebody call me and help me on this. What is so hard at being a moderator and saying your time is up and tell them in a polite way to shut up? And if they don't do it, turn the mic off. I mean, there should be a kill switch on every mic. And once they learn that what you say is the way it's going to be, then they'll back off. But they took control, and the moderators were absolutely worthless. They yelled, they interrupted, they were nothing more than little kindergartners. Caller, good morning, you're on the air. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I thought you were gone.
I was, but I'm back.
Oh, another time warp. Here we go, the good spaceship Odyssey. What can we do for you?
Well, I watched some of it last night because, Saturday Night Live used to be funny and needed some entertainment, so I turned it on and watched it.
You have a sixth sense of comedy.
Well, it looked like the moderators were trying to herd cats. It's exactly what it looked like.
Honestly, Doug, I've been a moderator, okay? And you have to be very firm with people that when you say in a polite fashion, quiet, that's enough, mean it, or turn their mic off.
Exactly. It's just like a referee on a basketball game or a football game.
Yeah.
As soon as they let it get out of control, you can't hardly bring it back.
No. Absolutely agree.
So, but no, it just shows the incompetency of the mainstream media, those news broadcasters, which are opinion people. It just shows their incompetence.
Well, not only the news media and CBS. I don't like the moderators they had chosen anyway. But it was a complete embarrassment to what is left of a burning down pillar of the Democratic Party.
It is. It's scary that the way Bernie Sanders is going and what he's talking about just scares me.
Doug, have you ever, you're a little bit younger than I am, but not much, but have you ever in your life, or did you ever expect in your lifetime that you would be sitting talking about a man running for president that espouses communistic and socialistic values that would absolutely destroy the fabric of America?
No, not till the last, say, 10 years, 15 years. But ever since John F. Kennedy, the Democrat Party has just been swinging way left, and I think they've reached their outer limits, and it's going to destroy them come this election.
You know, I'm going to, as a friend, I'm not going to correct you. I'm just going to make an addendum. I don't think they've reached their outer limits. I don't think they've reached their bottom. I think they've got a shovel and they keep on digging.
Just like that joke I seen a long time ago in Mad Magazine. Shows these two guys looking down a big, deep hole, and one of them looks the other one. He said, "You got the plans upside down."
I remember that one. I do. I remember that cartoon. But it's really not a laughing matter. Because some of the charges that were made last night by these absolutely pathetic Democrats, like Joe Biden made a statement last night that over 150 million people have been killed by guns since 2007. That was a lie. That was a blatant lie, and nobody corrected him. None of the moderators, they being not very bright, didn't understand the facts are that it was even less than half of that in 13 years.
Oh, yes. Because there's, what is there, 300 million, a little over 300 million in the U.S.? That's half of the population of the U.S.
Yeah. And then the other thing that really bugged me last night when I tuned into this, that commie socialist Bernie Sanders, he gets away with the denigration of relationships with Israel by calling the Prime Minister Netanyahu a racist.
I know it. Minister Netanyahu is the best thing that's happened to Israel.
How do you stop Bernie?
Country around.
How do you stop Bernie? I got commercials I got to get in, but I want to ask you that real quick answer. How possibly can the Democrats, and I know a lot of them want to, stop Bernie? There is no firepower at any of the other podium stances up on that stage, whether it's Biden, whether it's Steyer, whether it's Bloomberg, whether it's Warren. It doesn't make any difference. None of those people are sharp enough, bright enough, or have the moxie to put a stifle on Bernie Sanders. So how do you do it?
Well, you do it by education. That's the only way you can do it. And when the government has taught the youth of this country, when they took over the education system and decided what to teach and what not to teach, that's where this has started. And to stop it, you've got to re-educate people.
Yeah.
You've got to re-educate the youth and let them know what they're calling for is wrong, and it's going to be devastating to everybody, not just the right, the conservatives. It's going to be devastating to you.
Last week, I turned on and religiously watched the newscast every morning, even though we were gone. And Deanna and I both shook our heads and looked at each other in total dismay that new polling that is out in America is showing that those 30 and under, the millennials, are absolutely backing Bernie Sanders, and the primary reason is because of all the free socialistic values that he wants to give them. And they're not smart enough. And I'm going to say this. Those that espouse the free socialistic values are not smart enough to figure out that somebody's got to pay for them.
Exactly, because they've grown up. Their parents have taken care of everything for them, A few of them work some jobs, and those that have worked jobs and, earned a little money on their own are not going for it. But the ones that have come home from school, play video games, and, the parents have covered everything for them, it's free. Everything's free. My parents didn't give it to me free, so why can't the government give it to me?
I'm 72 years old, proud of it, and not ashamed of my age and all the things that God's given me as assets to keep on going. And I wonder, where did we fall through the cracks? Honestly, because this is complete idiocy, thinking that it's free, but nobody says anything about how and who is going to be stuck with the bill.
Well, Bernie's telling everybody the taxes are going to go up. Taxes are going to go up.
Yeah, but he was asked last night, Doug, about how his health care bill is going to break down and how it's going to be paid for. And he said simply, well, if you got 3 hours, I'll explain it. So there's the evasiveness right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're doing the political two-step.
I've got another caller waiting, old buddy. Give us your little spiel and we'll run away.
All righty, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers. If you're a business and you can donate, go eat lunch there. You'll leave with a full stomach and a full heart.
I like that. A full stomach and a full heart. Very well stated. I'm going to hang that up on the wall. Thanks, Doug.
God bless.
All right, buddy. Hey, caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, they do have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. These people are good. They've been in business now almost 7 decades. They're not the new kids on the block, but they're the best kids on the block, and they can help you with all that you need. Don't forget, too, that they're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. The number to call for information, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning. I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Good morning, Zebedee, and welcome home to the confusion of the country.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Those people, they should have wiped their mouths last night, because every one of them pooped out of their mouth.
It was a display of incompetency, uneducated statements, and blatant lies. Would you disagree with that?
Yep. It was terrible. Confusion at its best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
God bless you, Bob. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, Wheels, watch that feedback, buddy, please. And that echoed in the chambers of my brainless mind. And, Dino Septic Service, I got to tell them, and then we'll take that next call. Septic tank pumping, sewer and sink drain lines cleaning, liquid waste removal. They do the job that you and I don't want to do. They're out there helping you daily. All you got to do is call 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. Dino's Septic Service. Really nice people serving you. They'll pull in the yard with a big truck that says, "Smells cargo on the way." Don't forget to give them a call today. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Zeb. Hey, I just got a comment. I think we can't allow socialism to creep inside America, which it's gonna. I mean, there's just no doubt about it that it's gonna. We have more bad people being born, more than the good people, it seems like. They're gonna outnumber us, 20, 30, 40 years down the road eventually. Why can't we just make laws against socialism? I mean, it seems like if we don't make a law on everything, it seems to eventually creep in.
Well,
why couldn't they do something like that?
I agree with you, and don't leave, because I want to ask you a couple of questions here. And I'm not trying to be arbitrary with you, but I need some information. How do we go about reversing a trend that has grown like cancer all the way down to the kindergarten years, through the elementary, through the junior high, through the high school and the college and universities? How do we change this with a system that has been teaching through teachers that don't understand the values of this country, our Constitution, or capitalism? How do we change this?
I guess the only way to change it is for people to really stand up and say what they really believe in. I mean, I just believe that, some people, man, I don't know how to put it in words without sounding stereotypical or anything like that, but some of it's these single fathers,
Yeah.
I'm just tired of fathers that ditch their kids and leave everything for the mother.
Amen.
And I think that's a major part of our downturn in this society is the lack of fathers, and how that when the woman has the baby, they're just up and out, and some of them would rather just pay child support. I mean, let me tell you, child support's a lot cheaper than paying for a kid. They're getting off way too damn easy.
I totally agree.
And I think there ought to be taxes against single fathers, and I am one. I've been a single father for the last 10 years, and, I got 2 kids in high school. I got one that works for me, and they're great kids because I was there, but there's a lot of dads that just up and go and don't even call their kids. They're more like uncle dads rather than dad. And when I see those families, I see a lot more problems within the boys. You know it.
No, I'm going to tell you something that you have touched on, a subject that is near and dear to me, and I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to show my age again, that I always revert back to when I talk about families on my program. I think back as to the covers of the Saturday Evening Post magazine, and those covers were painted by Norman Rockwell. Many of the covers showed the families going to the park. Many of them showed them walking to church on Sunday. Many of the covers showed them eating a meal together and conversing together. And we've lost the value of family in this country. Family rules, regulations, how to grow up, what's right, what's wrong, and it all, in my opinion, goes back to family.
Goes back to family. It's going back to raising men as men rather than metrosexuals, I guess. I mean, we need some men.
I could not agree more.
You know, a lot of people go, women power, stuff like that, and I'm in agreement with it. You know, I think we're all equals, and we should be, noted that way. But at the same time, we, as men, we know what boys need, and sometimes a good, swift kick in the butt is what those boys need.
I couldn't agree more.
Being told doesn't help sometimes on some kids.
I agree. John Wayne, please come back and lead us. That's the attitude that I will adhere to and not change in my thinking. Sir, it was a treat to have you call in. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
God bless. Thank you. That man is spot on. Let's see. I want to remind you, oh boy, don't forget the Idaho Legislative Update promo. Yep, I'm going to tell you about that next Monday at 10:30. Don't forget our Idaho Legislative Update, sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. And they've been serving businesses in Idaho and the surrounding states for a long, long time. You can depend on the best Handy Truck Lines. They deliver the goods. And they'll be putting forth the advertising for our Idaho Legislative Update next Monday at 10:30. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. The menu at the Burley Senior Center today is roast beef, roasted potatoes, salad, and cake with yummy frosting.
Well, I tell you what, that cake with yummy frosting sounds pretty good to me, Joe, and that's at the Senior Center on Overland. What about the cost if they want to have a takeout?
They can come and for $5. You can get all you can eat as a takeout.
All right. We'll send them over, Joe. God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Joe Taylor, great, great guy about the Senior Center on Overland. Absolutely delicious food. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What is wrong? Why is it taboo? Why is it scoffed at? Why do people roll their eyes? And it happens to me almost every day on this program. I get emails, I get calls, and people stop me sometimes at various locations when I brag or tout family values and going back to the basics. I remember vividly about a year ago, a guy stopped me and he said, well, you always say on your program the way things were or the way things ought to be. You're not very progressive in your thinking. Well, the way things are today and the way things are going down the toilet, to be blunt, that's why I say at the end of this program the way things were or the way things ought to be. There were no transgender boys that are trying to imitate girls, trying to take away the rights of girls in girls' athletics. There wasn't all this garbage that's going on in this country about free this, free that, nobody having to work for a living, college students that run up a debt now they're appealing to the American taxpayer for us to bail them out of their poor, stupid choices. I stand behind my slogan. The way things were or the way things ought to be. We had a better value system. What was right what was wrong, what was black, what was white, what is honesty, what needs to be paid for, your responsibilities. I'm not going to ever on this program backwater to anybody that says I'm wrong. I'm not. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And please call. Barry Equipment and Rental, don't forget, they've got three locations serving you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. I got to get them on the air here in the next couple of days and talk about all the Bobcats and about all the Doosan wheel loaders, everything for all the lifting and the digging, the pushing and the carrying and the grading and the leveling. And they've got the big tough dudes to get the job done. At another location at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, Eli and the crew, and then up in Nampa. I mean, they are ready to serve you with the best of financing programs and excellent rebates. And, of course, don't forget lease programs. Yeah, Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know why what was good for us in the past as family members and growing up is not good today. I mean, boy, oh boy, some of the absolute garbage that the Democrats are espousing and backing, it's absolutely ridiculous. Let me give you an example. Yesterday on this program, we had a lady that was talking about a couple of bills that were going before the Senate to stop the absolute heinous and ridiculously, graphically sick and sadistic method of babies that survive botched abortions are put on gurneys and wheeled into closets and left to expire and die. It's murder. And yesterday the Senate was going to talk about this and vote on this, but the Democrats, they went into a tailspin. Oh, we can't do that. And Democratic Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, here's a guy that I really want to see get beat in his state. He's suggested that passive infanticide, whatever that means, passive infanticide, be legalized. Folks, we're living in a sick, perverted society. And 44 Democrats are going to filibuster any anti-infanticide bill. They're in favor of it. And Ben Sass, Nebraska senator, said, we're talking about killing babies that are born. They're born. That's the actual legislation we are voting on yesterday in the Senate. And that's what the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act is. That's what that lady said yesterday. God bless her. Allison was on here yesterday. And Ben Sass also criticized CNN. They need a lot of criticism. They got a bunch of dumb people working for them. For a Tuesday report on both the Pain Capable Act and the Born Alive Act that described a baby who survived an abortion as a fetus that was born. It's not a fetus, it's a baby. Where and when are we going to wise up and use the gray matter between our ears that God gave us? That's not a fetus laying there on a gurney. It's a baby. And Ben Sass went on to say that if you're a baby and you've been born and you're outside of your mother, nobody calls that a fetus. Amen. You just want to call that a fetus because you don't want to cover the actual story that's being voted on in the U.S. Senate. And the Democrats absolutely trashed this yesterday. Somebody said to me before I left on my little 3.5-week hiatus, you're not fair to the Democrats. You're not fair to the Democrats. Let me tell you something, boys and girls. With the idiocy that they put forth, I can't and I won't be fair to the Democrats. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is a family up on the mountain, and I just absolutely admire what they've done in the cow business, and that's the Sheridan Ranch, Cordell and Patty Sheridan. Man, oh man, have they created one of the premier bull sales in this area, and for that matter, the Northwest. Callers, stay with me. I'll be right with you. It's the 25th annual bull sale, problem-free cattle that's put on by Sheridan Ranch, Cordell and Patty Sheridan. It's going to be March 7th. Don't forget that. Sale starting at 1 p.m. at the Burley Auction Yard. Lunch provided at noon. They're going to have 80 really ripping good bulls, 30 coming 2-year-olds and 50 yearlings. Free delivery up to 300 miles. I'm telling you, this is one of the West's most outstanding offerings of yearling and coming 2-year-old Gelbvieh, Angus, and Balancer bulls. Don't miss it on March 7th, 1 p.m., Burley Livestock Sale Yard, Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale. Absolutely the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, welcome home, Mr. Weary Traveler.
And you have no idea how true that is.
I can imagine. You know, I'm sick of the Republicans not being fair to the rest of the world.
No, you said that wrong. You said that wrong. Didn't you? You said the Republicans weren't fair to the rest of the world? Didn't you mean Democrats?
Democrats, I'm sorry. You know, we watched the debate the debacle. I think kindergartners have more respect for the commentators than the Democrats did.
Totally agree.
All they were doing was I, me, and nobody said anything about how they're going to improve our way of living. They're totally against the Constitution. I don't understand. I don't understand why anybody in their right mind would vote for one.
Well, there's the question. I mean, are they in their right mind? Is the party able to provide anything of common sense and value to the American public? I don't care if it's state elections, local elections, or if it's national elections. I wouldn't vote, and I mean this, I'm going to hurt a lot of listeners' feelings perhaps. I wouldn't vote for a Democrat purely because of their insidious, hateful, and absolutely worthless programs.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're not looking out for their constituents. They're not looking out for the people. All they're trying to do is it's 1 million and billionaires out trying to outdo the other.
Well, and Donna, let me ask you this. You know as well as I do, and you and George, sharp people and very nice people and community-oriented people, you know as well as I do, when they say, like Bernie and some of the others, well, yeah, it's going to raise taxes, and then they leave kind of an empty void or a silence after that. Let's say that somebody's making the minimum wage and they're taking home the minimum amount of annual salary, and they're barely able to scrape things together. And you know as well as I do, gas prices are going to be very tentative as to staying level. We're going to see the peaks and the valleys, more so the peaks. Families are really struggling to get by, and then the Democrats want to hang a bunch of taxation on them so they can give the 30 and under crowd free education. Are you crazy?
Yeah, they are. If you look at them, they're all bug-eyed. And I don't know that, but I'm scared that it's going to happen because there's so many people. Bernie Sanders has such a following, and you know they're teaching our children in school, our young kids coming up, that socialism is a good thing, but they're not telling them the whole story.
Explain that to me. Now, you've got grandkids that I knew you follow and worship. Explain that to me. How are they getting this message that capitalism and the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. value system and all that's been accomplished through blood, sweat, tears, and lives is evil? I'm totally lost as to how they've done this.
Well, I don't know either. You know, I'm our grandkids are so in tune with us that they've been taught the difference. But, they're teaching this stuff in the colleges. They're teaching it in high schools. Heck, they're teaching it in grammar schools. How can our educators look themselves in the mirror and with good conscience teach our young children that socialism is going to be wonderful?
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Do you know who Martha McCallum is?
Yes.
On Fox News?
Yes.
Okay. She just recently wrote a book, and I got to tell you something. The other night when they were doing a feature on this book, it brought me to tears, and I'm not ashamed to admit this. And the book is all about her uncle that she never met, that was one of the Marines that fought in the Pacific Theater and was at the Battle of Mount Suribachi, in the battle against Japan, and the lives and the atrocities and everything that happened. And it made me think of the pride of the soldiers that were in their mid-90s, early hundreds, that still have survived that battle at Mount Suribachi, and the tears that were running down their cheeks for their fellow Marines and everything. We've lost that pride in America today, and I'll stand behind that statement. Do you agree?
Oh, heck yeah. We have no pride anymore. It's starting to come back, Zeb, in a few places. But you're right. You're right. We have lost the importance of what those men fought and died for.
I just, I'm not ever going to shirk and change my verbiage at the end of the show, the way things were, the way things ought to be. I would like to see a big mop and a dustpan and everything else and clean this country up and restore the values we used to have. We were a stronger, more united country instead of the fragmentation that's caused today by the idiocy of trying to promote socialistic values.
I'm right there with you. And, I think if they would step back and let Donald Trump... I'm not a big fan of his. I think he's a big blowhard. But you know what? I'm glad he's the one in office. He's doing everything he's promised, and he's trying. If they would just step back and let him do his job, I think he'd create a whole lot better world for all of us.
I am not going to argue with my dear friend. It is 8:45. It's about time you got George out of bed.
Oh, he's up. He's waiting for his friend Billy to come over. They're going to take a run up to Sublet and see if they can get stuck in the snow.
What a fun day. Okay, thank you. God bless you. Have a good one.
You bet. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, right now it's time for the weather. Mm-hmm. And our weather brought to you by some really nice people. Callers, stay on the line. Don't go away. Do not pass go. Do not collect the $200. I'll be right with you. Mount Harrison Audiology is bringing us the weather. They're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And believe me, they are the best when it comes to your hearing health. They know they can help, and they will. All you need to do is make an appointment. Call 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Work with the best and help your hearing. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Fairly decent for most of the week, but maybe by this weekend some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting partly sunny skies with a high of about 50. Tonight mostly clear, low of 25. Winds are going to be just pretty much non-existent. For tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 50 with an overnight low of 26. Looks like 53 for Friday. Then by Saturday, partly sunny, 54. Maybe by Saturday night, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast. We are expecting a low of 31. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zep at the Ranch.
Hey, Gina, thank you. I appreciate that, and it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And hearing loss affects each person differently, and boy, if you're noticing some diminishment of your hearing, please do not wait. Call them today at 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, good morning. You've been very patient. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm so glad that you are having the discussion that you are having about our wonderful country. And I'm the baby boomer girl that was born about 4 months or 9 months and 2 seconds after my dad got out of the war. Anyway, I am so proud to be an American. And I do not think that this country is going down, especially if we, as parents and grandparents, help our children to know that there are many, many places on this planet that they could go, but there is not any place that they want to leave their slot open for some stranger who doesn't want American values.
You know, Chris, what you just said is so true that educational facilities, teachers, professors, etc., that don't know Khmer from Sikkim, and they've never been anywhere, never had to live anywhere else, never been subjected to other governmental means and methods. They're teaching our kids and preaching to our kids how bad a system is when they don't know any other systems. And this is what gripes me. We've got avowed socialists that are trying to twist and warp the minds of our young people, and the people that are doing the teaching are dumber than a doggone piece of rock.
Well, I think that the American youth are so far removed from their books can tell them about their history, but I think those shows that have been on our televisions sometimes that we have all just wanted to see again and again and again, I don't think you're seeing these. And you know, kids are educated by TV too, and I wish there'd be somebody putting out things that can go into the classroom. And I think you can start in the 4th grade, because when you start building up at about that age, they start to listen. Honestly, I think we've got it all backwards. We're just trying to teach them about tomorrow, which is important. But our history, if you don't know your history, you're bound to be gone.
I absolutely, I'm going to keep this tape. I keep all the tapes, but I'm going to remember when you called and talked about that, because you were absolutely spot on. Chris, God bless you for your call. I always look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A sharp lady. Sharp lady, and very well said. Very well said. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Have you noticed, I've got to ask you this question. Through all the Mueller hearing and the reports, Russia, they did this, they did that, and then nothing came to fruition, or nothing came for fact. Russia, they were doing this, that, and the other. Have you noticed that now the Democrats are re-employing the same old tactics again, 6.5 months from the election? Russia, and they're planting the seeds that Russia is so powerful, influencing and being involved in our election. They, honestly, they being the Democrats, they can't win on their own standards and their own viewpoints. So again, here we go. They bring back the Russia hoax. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. You know, you've had several callers that have said something about our teachers are teaching socialism and communism and those types of things. I think, my opinion is, any of these professors, any of these teachers who are teaching that mode of living, that way of government, need to live by that rule, that law, and not receive any pay, because with socialism, it would be everybody gets paid the exact same. They would not have any raises. Everybody's supposedly equal, and you get all participation ribbons. And I think the professors should be the same way.
You know, Sharon, many times on this program we've talked about this, and every person, this is my belief, and tell me if I'm wrong. Every person that has been born into this great country and our society and everything that is available to us, I always adhere to the statement that you can succeed if you try in America. All you need to do is have the guts to go out and try to succeed. It's all there if you want to try to be very successful in this great land of opportunity. But the stupidity of the left and the saying that we're all the same and we all shouldn't deserve any more than anybody else. That is nothing more than being like a flock of sheep, and I can't live that way.
Exactly. And I think that's why I believe that all these professors who are teaching this way, they should be paid accordingly. They should be paid the way they would if they lived in Russia or China or somewhere else with no merit pay, with no, you went to school 2 years longer than somebody else, you deserve more. No, you're a professor in this class, and you're only going to get paid X amount because the government is running your school.
Let me ask you real quick, what do you think about this, I call it completely unhinged stupidity by Bernie and some of the other Democrats that are saying, well, we've got to create a program where we pay for these college educations and we make sure that anybody that took out a loan, we reimburse them. Nobody reimbursed me for my college education. How far back are we going to go, my dear Sharon?
Yeah. Do we get to have reparation for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure my grandmother went to school and had to pay for it. I want reparation for that. I agree with you. How far back are we going to go? It's the same thing as any of that other stuff, and it's ridiculous. If college classes or going to school cost so much that they are taking out loans, that they are in debt for more than 10 years after they graduate, that is wrong. There's something wrong with that system. I agree.
Well, let me ask you.
All tuition, that means the government runs the schools.
Yeah.
That scares me.
Well, okay, but
I don't think you should go back and void any current or previous debt because, like you say, how far back are we going to go?
Well, not only that, but everybody should be responsible for their own actions and their own wishes and their own hopes for their own future. I mean, if you want to go to USC, a very, very, very expensive school, or if you want to go to Yale or whatever, that's your choice, but then you pay for it. If you want a degree as a lawyer and you want to have the name Yale on the diploma, what makes you a better lawyer or your determination of professionalism any better if you're a lawyer that graduated from the University of Idaho?
Exactly. Probably nothing. There is nothing. It's just like brand names. It's that name that's on the label. And there are some people who think that makes a difference.
Yep.
I don't believe it does.
Sharon, always good to hear from you.
The products are the products.
Absolutely. God bless you for calling in. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. I really get upset about this. We were talking, Dr. History was here during the news yesterday before he went on the air. I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, and you really got to watch your P's and Q's and the money, and let's say that you want to get a degree from University A, okay? A very expensive school. Oh, yeah, prestigious. Everybody will think, my son or daughter went to this very expensive school to be a lawyer. But then somebody else that wants to go to a lesser cost university and still get a degree in law or whatever at a lesser cost university and work hard, pay for it, everything's paid for. It really, when the end result comes out and they look at the sheepskin, it says you've graduated and you are now a lawyer. I don't like people waving titles in front of other people's faces saying, I'm better than you are, I went to this prestigious school. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And, boy, I tell you what, they are service-oriented. They've got all your tires. I mean, whether it's on the farm tires for the loaders or the skid steers, the back hose, whatever. I mean, they're there. They're there with those big trucks right there on the farm and dairy to serve you. And don't forget, they've got all your passenger and SUV and pickup tires, trailer tires. They all graduated from the school class called Tireology. They know tires at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They know brakes. They know front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. They know how to serve you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 30 seconds, and that's it. Go real fast.
Well, about the debate last night, none of the people on the stage have accomplished anything, and Bloomberg, who has,
is an absolute arrogant elitist, you know what? And he doesn't care about the regular people. People say that I could walk in and Donald Trump would sit down and talk to me, and I believe it. And he'd treat you fairly, with respect, and enjoy your company. You couldn't get that out of Mini Mike or any of the others.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I got to run to the news, but you've hit the nail right on the head. The arrogance that is portrayed behind those podiums is absolutely sickening. Randy, call me when I've got more time. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
You bet.
God bless. By the way, folks, today is Ash Wednesday, the beginning of Lent. Let us all pray for peace and common sense, that it stages a comeback in this very turbulent world. We're going to go to the news. I'll be back in 6. Oh, good morning, Zeb Bell, Zeb at the ranch, and my engineer over at the studio, my old buddy Wheels, and he'll be taking your calls. This program, of course, brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires. That's the bottom line. They're there to serve you. Stop in and see them today. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Senior Living. Seniors, listen to me. This is a beautiful place. 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Boy, that is the bottom line. Always at your disposal. Getting rid of your garbage. Get on the route service today. Call them. The number 324. No, what am I doing? 734-6969. Good heavens, I got to be retrained. 734-6969. The very best of people serving you and getting rid of your garbage. Get on the route service. 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Want to also tell you a little bit about our friends over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I talked to Nick yesterday, and yours truly is going to start back on the program of helping my old legs. That's really the way to put it. And when it comes to aching and paining or recovering and recuperating from surgery or an accident, please, they can help you with the best of physical therapy at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number to call, 678-1191. The best, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I want to take just a quick moment, too, to tell you about our dear friend Joel Heward and his family and his staff have absolutely been serving this area of southern Idaho for a long, long time at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Very nice people, and they acknowledge the solemn responsibility that they have to provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Remember the number. Call them, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now. I have not talked to this man for over a month, and I miss my old buddy back in Indiana. Here he is, Dave Bego. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I think you're right. You need to be retrained now. It's been a while.
Don't push it, Bego.
I'm teasing you.
Okay. It's been a long time since we've had the chance to share the microphone, and I certainly hope all is well in Indianapolis.
Well, it is, except we're about 30 degrees and getting snow, and we could get lower southern part of Indianapolis 1 to 3 inches, but above that 4 to 6 inches.
Oh my goodness sakes!
Yeah.
Well, I want to get into a little bit of a political vein right now. Dave, you and I are basically in the same age generation. In all your life of being a very astute and well-known businessman and doing a great job and looking and studying politics, have you ever seen or witnessed the chaos, the total chaos the Democratic Party is going through right now?
No, it's terrible, Zeb, and it's going to continue to get worse as we approach the election day. And as I've said before, a big part of this is the far left, which is the unions and Soros, and they're going to continue to, stir things up and try and bring Trump down and the Republican Party.
But when you say it's going to get worse, David, I'm not trying to pin you down, but really give me some little tidbits of stories. How can it get much worse when, A, you have a communist, socialist that's leading the Democrats for the nomination? You've got a bunch of nincompoops that don't know Khmer from Sikkim. You've got a man that is married in a same-sex marriage and an advocate of all this type of filth, I will call it that. And then you've got a couple of billionaires that absolutely are using money trying to buy the election. I mean, we're talking total insanity here.
Yeah, we are. But, as they dwindle down and they get their candidate in that, then we're going to see these attacks against the president and the Republican Senate really rise, and the agenda is going to be ugly. How they go after our candidates, and as I've told you before, I've been through it. I know their programs and their agendas, and it's going to get uglier. And it doesn't matter who it is that becomes the Democratic candidate. It's going to be that way.
Well, in the last couple of days, actually starting about last Wednesday, you can see the employment of the same vein of thought that they used in the last election against Trump. Russia's involved with our election. Trump and Putin are all together. They're best buddies behind the scenes. It's Russia. They're employing the same thing that has been looked at, studied, investigated, the Mueller report ad nauseum, and they're going to try this again. This is ridiculous.
I know, but they know that they can brainwash a lot of people and then get into people's heads. And a lot of the people, especially the millennials, will pick up on this and go for it. And this is just their agenda. This is how they do things. And they know they're not going to change the minds of Republicans. And that what they're doing is going after the Democratic Party and the progressives and people in the middle out there. And this is how they do it.
Well, as a businessman that has been highly successful, you've really kept your back to pushing the wheel for years to make your business grow and prosper. You got to tell me how. How can a percentage of America, a very large percentage right now, it seems like, support a communist socialist like Bernie Sanders, and the under 30 and under crowd absolutely thinks Bernie can walk on water? What did we do wrong, and where did we fail?
Well, Zeb, and I've said this before on your show, a lot of this pertains to the fact that for the last 30, 40 years, the unions and the left have controlled our education system from kindergarten up through college, and they've got into these people's brains, and they've made them more liberal, and we even have there's professors at these colleges that talk about how socialism and communism is so much better than the free market and capitalism, and they've been brainwashed. That's just what they think. And they think, you're going to get free this, free education, free health care, free this, free that, and but nobody ever steps back and talks to them, okay, how are we going to pay for this? How is this going to work? And let's look at the countries that have gone from vibrant capitalistic societies to socialist communists like Venezuela, which is, really one of the worst of them all. And they don't look at this stuff because they've been brainwashed.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. But here we go with these professors and this free with socialism, etc. Wait a minute. Somebody's got to pay the piper. Somebody's got to pay the band when the music stops. And that's the American taxpayer. I've asked you before, and I want you to elaborate on it again. I am a big proponent that if you want to go to school, if you want to go to California and go to the University of Southern California or UCLA, or if you want to go to Yale or Harvard, whatever, fine, go ahead, pay the bill. But you pay the bill, not the American taxpayer.
Yeah, I'm with you. Or they get it based on great things they've done. Educationally, their grade point is very high, so they get a scholarship for that, or because they were great in one of the sports and something like that. But that way you earn getting into college. It's not given to you.
But Dave, I don't know where you went to college and where you got your degree. It doesn't make any difference, or where I did. But the point I'm getting at is, if let's say you want to be a lawyer or an accountant, whatever you want to do, I don't think that when the bottom line and the dust is settled, does it really make any difference to have the prestige of saying that I went to the University of Southern California, or versus I went to Whitewater State University in Wisconsin? They've both got the degree, they both passed the test, they're both accountants or lawyers or whatever they want. What difference does it make?
It doesn't make a difference where they go. It makes a difference how they do and what type of person they are and how they perform and their work ethic and, all kinds of things. Their ability to develop relationships with other people so that they can grow their business and all that kind of stuff. And, those are things we talk to our people about all the time. When we go out and we talk to customers and our employees and vendors, we talk to them. We have to develop a relationship with these people so that they know that they can come talk to us if they have a concern or a problem or they want to know something. But they also know that when they talk to us, we're telling them the truth and we're pointing them in the right direction and doing the right things, and that we're there for them all the time. And that's how we've grown our business, through those type of things.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here and I honestly think about when I was in school having to work the two jobs, and I'm very glad that I did. I mean, I appreciated the fruits of my labor, if you will. But for these kids to turn around and listen to Bernie and Elizabeth Warren and others and saying, well, you can go to college and we'll excuse your debt and the American taxpayer will pick it up. Wait a minute. What about the reparations of that debt extending back to my and your generation? Where do you draw the line, buddy?
Yeah, well, they don't care about us. It's all about the votes and the vote getters, and that's who they're after, and that's what they're trying to get. And the truth is, at the end of the day, and this is the same thing when we fought the Union, they promised these people all these things. You're going to get this and you're going to get that. You're going to make more money. You're going to get better benefits. You're not going to pay for your health care, and it just goes on and on and on. But at the end of the day, when you go back and look at what they really do for the people, they don't get all that stuff. It's just all they're doing is to get these people to vote for them, to become union members, so that they can go after the businesses and they can collect union dues from these people and use the union dues for their own pocketbook and their political agenda, which is the Democratic Party and bringing down America.
Let me ask you this question. How or will someone on the Democratic Party stop communist, socialist Bernie Sanders? I mean, look ahead and let's say that, holy cow, that Bernie gets the nod for the nomination. Well, I honestly believe that in any kind of a debate, that Donald Trump would spit and chew and throw away Bernie Sanders like a used throat lozenge. I don't think that there's going to be any competition. I think Bernie Sanders would be the total demise of the Democratic Party and totally fragment it for possibly forever. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think it's good. In fact, I don't think they have a candidate that can beat Trump. And so, again, when whoever they decide, when they start going after Trump with their pick, and that they're going to try and bring Trump down and really make him look bad. They're going to paint him bad. And that's the things that I hate seeing, but it's going to happen.
Well, yeah, but wait a minute, Dave. After the Mueller report and the Russia, everything, Russia with Putin and everything, and then, of course, the impeachment, which was a total farce and waste of time and taxpayer money, what are they going to do? What are they going to add to this debacle?
Oh, Zeb, you just never know what they can come up with. And they'll be searching every corner and everything that Trump says and does, and his tweets and things like that. They're going to use everything against him. This is what they do, and they're going to smear him in the press and in the media because they control the media. And this is the way it's going to go. And they're going to really go after the black community because Trump has done a good job in the last election. Getting a lot of black voters, and they're going to really go after them to try and take that away from him, and they're going to smear him as a big racist and stuff like that. And then the union people, a lot of union people voted for Trump, but they're going to go after them too. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised on the union side if the union bosses don't tell them that, you better not vote for Trump and the Republican Party. You better vote for the people we tell you. And they sit them down, and they kind of scare them into doing that.
No, but okay, but then the obvious question has to come up: who's going to be peering over the curtain at the voting polling places? Who's going to be watching when they make that X or make that mark? I mean, how do you scare somebody behind a closed curtain into voting your way?
Because they'll tell these people, they'll say, we'll find out, we'll have access to how you voted, and if you don't vote the way we want, we're coming after you. And, and quite honestly, in several precincts, and I wrote a blog on this many years ago in Nevada, that, a lady out there called me and said the SEIU picked her up and took her to the polls and told her who to vote for, and she had to do it because they were there, and the people that were running the polls were SEIU people.
Oh, my goodness sakes. I got to shift gears here a little bit in the time remaining, even though I'd like to stay on all things political. But, Dave, as a father, husband, family member, are you as concerned and shook up and very worried about the coronavirus?
Well, I'm, being in the cleaning industry, and, I've got a master's degree in microbiology, and so health is very important to me, and I'm to be honest with you, Zeb, I'm a big germaphobe. I think people have to be very careful because this stuff can spread, and I don't know if you read some of the articles on it, but they said some of this virus and coronavirus, even if people touch, doorknobs or other places where you'll touch with your hands, tabletops or stuff like that, if they're not cleaned appropriately, and that coronavirus can last up to 9 days. So that means people can pick it up and move it around the country. So, yeah, it does concern me. And I think the people in this country need to understand that they got to stay on top of keeping things clean and keeping their hands clean all the time. Hand washing is one of the biggest things you can do to keep from getting that virus, and then keep your hands away from your face as much as possible.
Well, I go along with everything you said, but there's a caveat here. I think that this coronavirus through the media has been played up way too much. We lose more people every year with the flu. Approximately 30,000 people die per annum because of the flu, and that's never even mentioned. We have 57 cases that have been found here in the United States of the coronavirus, none of which have yet been lethal. Why are we giving so much attention to the coronavirus instead of what actually is killing people on a per annum basis, influenza?
Well, I think, one, because China is pushing it, and I think it's a political, economic thing, and it is hurting our economy because a lot of business is not being done because of fear of that coming over here or anybody going over there picking it up and that. And so So I think that's part of the whole thing we're seeing right now.
When Trump dedicated and said that he wanted $2.6 billion immediately for the stopping, if you will, at our borders and our seashores of the coronavirus and do all we can, I thought it was great. But yet the Democrats came after him. I honestly feel that if Trump would have said we want $20 billion, the Democrats would have came after him for saying too much. And then Chuck Schumer came out and said it wasn't enough. I mean, this man, Donald Trump, cannot win at anything.
No, they're going to attack every bit of it, and they're going to try and get into people's heads and say he doesn't know what he's talking about. It doesn't add up to thing. But then you look at Sanders and health care for all, and how much money they say it would cost to do that. His numbers don't add up. How are you going to pay for it?
Well, that's the thing that scares me, David, is that there are no numbers. There are no A, B, C, D. Look to this column, balance that column, look to the left column and see what that is. Nothing has been put forth on the costs except they said that green energy will cost this much and everything. But nobody has made the bottom line statement as to how the American public can possibly pay for all this insanity.
Well, and they can't, and that's the thing. And but they're just basically saying to them, "You're still get all this stuff free. You don't have to worry about paying for it." And that's what they do. And the American people go, "Oh, okay. Well, they figured it out."
Well, real quick, Dave, I'm assured that when I say this, I'm going to be almost 100% correct, that your business absolutely depends upon good, reliant energy to get to the place, clean the place, get out of the place, go to another place. And with an energy program that's so regressive from the Democrats, how will that affect your business?
Well, it's a thing, if you don't have the fuel sources we have now, it's going to take it up, and the costs are going to be more, and it's going to be tougher to get places. But I don't think it's going to happen, Seb. I really don't. And I think their climate change ideas are crazy. And what they're talking about is about a 0.02% carbon rise, and that's not going to affect the climate.
Absolutely. Dave, I always look forward to having you on the air. You are a blessing. It's been a long time. We did have a very well-deserved, and I'm going to say that because it was well-deserved vacation, and Deanna and I both needed it. Thank you for your kind thoughts, and I'll look forward to having you back on next Wednesday.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys had a great warm vacation down in Arizona.
We did. We did. I loved it. I'm sunburned and happy for it. Thank you, Dave Bigo.
Have a good week.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Dear friend, Dave Bigo, and always look forward to having him on the air. I mentioned this earlier this morning, and I'm going to keep hammering it at you because it's absolutely the sale. It's one of the West's most outstanding offerings of yearling and coming 2-year-old Gelbvieh, Angus, and Balancer bulls. I'm talking about the 25th annual bull sale put on by Sheridan Ranch, and this is going to be at the Burley Auction Yard on March 7th at 1 p.m. Do not miss this sale. Let me tell you, we're going to have Cordell on the air, I think tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And Cordell and Patty Sheridan, they absolutely raise the best of cattle, and they want you to be at this sale. They're going to have 80 bulls selling, 30 coming 2-year-olds, and 50 yearlings, free delivery up to 300 miles. And believe me, the Sheridans, they know how to raise good cattle. So check it out. Don't forget, March 7th at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 25th Annual Bull Sale put on by the Sheridan Ranch. You be there, okay? Also, a quick note that our big thank yous go out to Let's Ride. They've been with us a long time on this program, and I'll tell you what, those folks over there were the ones that actually got Deanna and I started and interested in four-wheeling. And oh boy, am I glad they did. And I'll tell you what, Deanna likes to go more than I do. And just great. Well, it's almost that season again. Yes, we've got a lot of snow. Yes, you're going snowmobiling yet. But we got to start thinking about maybe if you already have four-wheelers, get them into Let's Ride at 270 Highway 24 over in Rupert, and get them all ready to go. Have them serviced. They've got a phenomenal service department over there. Really good, smart people. And then if you don't have a four-wheeler, yep, you better think about buying one. You buy two. You and your wife, you got to go. Or whatever you're looking for, it's right there for fun at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And it's true. This is where the fun is sold. You stop over and see those good folks today. I have had on this program many stories about the United States Army Corps of Engineers playing the role of thuggery and acting like bullies and literally destroying farmers and ranchers' lives. And I mean that when I say it. I will not back up. And with me right now with the Pacific Legal Foundation is an attorney, a senior attorney that I have the utmost respect for. He's been on my program many times. Tony Francois. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing today, Zeb?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 9.3. How's everything going in your world?
Oh, pretty much the same. It's a beautiful day here in California, and we're just living the dream.
Let me ask you about the dream that has turned into a nightmare for many people. Some of my friends over in Wyoming with a pond of water that absolutely became a nightmare. Army Corps of Engineers, you know, they used to be very well respected in wartime. Why are they playing the role of thugs right now?
Well, that's an awfully good question that I think a lot of people should be asking, Zeb. So the Army Corps of Engineers is basically a civil works agency within the Defense Department, and they do a lot of combat engineering work in combat theaters, but they also are responsible in the United States for levees and flood control projects all over the country. There's a new role that they've been playing over the last couple of decades, though, which is, as oddly as it sounds, regulators of farming, and this arises under their authority to regulate fill in navigable waters under the Clean Water Act and the ever-expanding sort of redefinition of what the Clean Water Act applies to the point that you've got the Army going around farm fields and ranches and areas that are remote from any boat-floating navigable water and saying, hey, we're in charge of this, and you need our permission to move dirt around in it, even if you're talking about something as innocuous as running a plow through an area that's damp in the wintertime.
You know, I'm sitting here, and we've talked about this before, Tony, in past segments and stories, but these people that now have turned into, I will call them professional thugs, coming onto someone's property and absolutely destroying lives and also farming businesses and practices, who gave them this power?
Well, the fascinating part about that, Zev, is that, as Congress became aware that both the EPA and the Army Corps were claiming authority over, non-navigable, remote, damp spots on people's property under the Clean Water Act, they amended the Clean Water Act back in the 70s, what I like to call one of Congress's rare lucid moments, to expel the Army from regulating farming activities and a variety of other kind of normal everyday things under the Clean Water Act. There's a clear and broad exemption for normal farming activities in the Clean Water Act, and yet, even though what Congress has told the Army is stay out of regulating farming with this authority, the Army has narrowed. Basically, what the Army said is, we don't really like that policy choice. So we're going to decide what normal farming activities are and when they're exempt and when they need permits. And the really sinister part of this for a lot of the people that we've represented at Pacific Legal Foundation is it's not at all clear when the Army is going to say your activity is exempt and when they're going to say, oh, you need a permit. not only that, it's not clear to other agencies that actually do regulate farming. And so we represent a gentleman here in California named Jack LaPant, who bought a piece of property after consulting with the local Farm Service Agency and the local NRCS office, and came away with the understanding that there weren't any wetland permitting issues with farming the property. And then after he grew a wheat crop on it, the Army shows up and says, yeah, you know what, you didn't know this, but that turns out you needed our permission for that. And so he is facing now, we're headed into, I want to say, the 5th year of federal government litigation against him for merely growing a wheat crop without going and asking the Army's permission first.
So, basically, before we take this caller, Tony, with a question, standby caller, I know this sounds so naive and so simplistic, but really there is no such thing as private property and private ownership and private control, is there?
Well, it's an important aspect of this because, by definition, if the government is trying to regulate, water resources, however substantial they are, that themselves are not navigable, then by definition, the bed and bank, or the bed and bank of those water bodies, is going to be private property, and so essentially, what the extension of Clean Water Act regulation up onto private farms and ranches and other areas that are remote from actual rivers and lakes is the imposition of, you could call it an easement. So the federal government claims that you need their permission to use your own property. We would normally call that an easement that the government has over your property.
Oh, my goodness. Let's take this call. I got to admit, I'm so frustrated and so mad over hearing this, and I know we've had stories on this in the past. Caller, go ahead quickly. You're on the air, please.
These parasites, they literally live off of our tax money, and they come back and attack the very people that pay them. I've had people that I do business with. I'm a contractor, and I've had people say we're in different situations like OSHA. We're so safe that we can't get any work done. And I've had people. The other day, I just had a new customer, and he was telling me the rigmarole that they have to go through just to do things. And I'm telling you, anybody that was a free market capitalist who was trying to be efficient, you couldn't survive with these sorry SOBs. And here we're out here, and just like a farmer who is the conservationist, he's an environmentalist. He's got to survive and make his land as fertile as it can make it. And here they're coming out here trying to tell you how to do it. And when we busted this thing out of the sagebrush, they were nowhere to be found. They're such parasites, it makes me sick. I'm going to hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Tony.
Well, one of the things that is just remarkable about an agency like the United States Army, regulating farmers is how uniquely unsuitable a group of people like that is. And I don't say that as an insult to the Army. I'm an Army vet, and I know many great officers and soldiers that were in the Corps of Engineers as combat engineers. But if you stop and think for a moment, farming depends entirely for its success on a farmer or a rancher being an expert in his or her own land. Soils vary from place to place. On the same farm, you're going to have different soil types. The weather varies from year to year, and the timing of it, the timing of precipitation varies from year to year and month to month. You prosper as a farmer by being an expert in what you have to do at your place to get crops to thrive. the Army is not a let's figure out exactly what we need to do here type of institution. The Army thrives by everybody doing everything the same way. And so it's the world of manuals that tell you how to do everything and standard procedures for everything from building a bridge to tying a shoe. And, Congress, like I said, recognized that, if you're going to pick an agency out of a hat to represent or to regulate, agriculture, I mean, if you closed your eyes and thought, which one would I like to have, and you thought, I'd like to have the Army regulate our farms, we need to talk because you got issues, sir. So, it's the last agency in the world that's going to have the flexibility and the aptitude for understanding that, every farm is different. Every farmer takes a different approach. And, instead, they've got this very kind of automated view of everything. This is exactly how it works, and if you don't do it this way, then you need our permission. And, that's why, among other reasons, Congress said to the Army, stay out of this. So, part of the problem is the Army not following congressional direction. There's also, I think, as the caller expressed, kind of a widespread realization among the folks that work in the private sector and grow things and make things for a living, that there are a lot of agencies and then the consultants that do work with the agencies that just kind of have a different view of the world, and it's all plans and 3-ring binders and extra steps and all of this bureaucracy that stifles people's ability to just do what they do. And, my observation of this, in the field and in court is that, a lot of agencies just don't get the degree to which their rules and their bureaucracy impede people from making a living doing perfectly normal things like farming and building houses and the like.
Tony, and this might be a naive question, so bear with me, but how do they being the United States Army Corps of Engineers, how do they go about searching and finding and going after certain victims?
Well, that's an interesting question. I can tell you in the cases that we've represented. So what happens, and I think the picture you get from that is it's somewhat haphazard, and there's I think a certain amount of reporting that goes on by neighbors that might have an axe to grind. We represented a couple down in New Mexico several years ago who bought a retirement home up in the mountains outside of, I want to say, Santa Fe. It might have been Albuquerque. But they were, a couple of dozen miles from the nearest, actual water flows in it most of the time river. And up in the foothills and in the mountains. So one of the things they did when they bought the place, the prior owner had left a bunch of junk in a dry arroyo kind of at the back of the property. And so John Smith, our client, or Peter Smith, went out with some equipment and gathered this junk up and, got rid of it at the landfill and kind of smoothed the area out so that it was nice again. One of his neighbors calls the Army Corps and says, hey, my neighbor's out there running heavy equipment in a regulated stream.
Oh, boy.
And the Army sent him a letter saying, hey, you're violating the Clean Water Act, and, we need to talk to you about restoring this site. And, within pretty short order, after we filed a lawsuit against them, they conceded, okay, yeah, this is just a dry sand arroyo. We don't have any regulatory authority over it. So, our client had the sense that the neighbor who had dimed him out to the Army Corps was buddies with somebody at the Army Corps office and just, wanted to access that, sort of borrow that authority to push him around. In the Now, in the LaPant case that I mentioned earlier, this is even crazier. The property in question had a wetland delineation done on it in the early 1990s by a prior owner that had been thinking about building a golf course there. That delineation was approved by the Army Corps, but then set aside in a file in their office in Northern California, and you couldn't get access to it if you even knew it existed without filing a FOIA request for it. So, reflect on what that means. I mean, it's officially, unless you file a request for it under the law, it's kind of like it's a government secret that the Army Corps considers themselves to have regulatory authority over this property. So our client buys the property in 2011, years later, and nobody at the Farm Services Agency knows about this delineation. Nobody at the NRCS knows about it. So the Army Corps staff member simply happens to be driving by the place after Jack plants his wheat crop. He looks at it with the wheat crop growing in the field and immediately concludes, oh, that's a violation. I happen to know there's a delineation on this property.
Oh, my goodness.
Instead of immediately picking up the phone and calling Jack and saying, hey, we got an issue here, let's figure this out, he does nothing. A subsequent purchaser of the property a year later goes in and tears the place up. Heavy equipment, graders, builds roads, all this heavy work. And only then does the Army open an enforcement file, and they rope Jack into this because, at the time that they observed his work, they didn't think it was important enough to do anything about. But as long as they're enforcing against this big outfit was basically funded by the Florida State Teachers Retirement Fund.
Oh, boy.
And they go in there with all this heavy equipment and violate the law. So the Army just says, we'll grab Jack and we'll take him along for this as well. We're going to enforce against him as well. So the Teachers Retirement Fund from Florida has settled out of this case, but the Army is still going after Jack for just planting a wheat crop. So it's a little bit spotty, but basically, pretty much anything that comes to their attention, they can go investigate, and they give themselves, 5 years or sometimes more to think about it before they file charges or even notify you. So it can be a nasty surprise.
I've only got a couple of minutes left, but I want you to take it from the viewpoint of the farmer, rancher, and landowner. This must be devastating to them to open up a certified letter or get a phone call. Tell me about what they go through and the costs that they have to incur and how their lives and their livelihoods are turned completely upside down.
Well, that is a grim, but sadly easy to answer question. So another client that we had involved in a situation like this was Duarte Nursery a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. They, after paying a substantial amount for their defense and their experts, had to pay over $1 million to settle the claims that the Army had against them. And that was because they were facing potential liability of up to $40 million at trial. They've got hundreds of employees. It's a family business. They just had to make the business decision to limit their risk by settling the case. But $1 million is nothing for anybody to sneeze at to settle a case where what you did, quote, wrong was plowed a field and planted wheat in it. Jack LaPant, the largest annual expenditure he's had for the last several years has been defending himself from this investigation and that lawsuit.
Oh, my. So,
his largest line item as a farmer is legal costs to defend himself from the Army enforcing against them for growing wheat without their permission.
Well, and thus, this is why I'm having you on behalf of the Pacific Legal Foundation. You're taking these cases and basically trying to save lives.
Well, it's it's an honor for us to have the opportunity to represent a lot of these very fine people. They're remarkable people, our clients. I mean, if you met Jack, you'd love him. And what we have the privilege of doing is helping people who themselves have the principle and the courage to stand up to this kind of behavior from the government. And defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And because we are able to represent them pro bono, they don't have to worry about, for our services, what the cost of their defense will be.
Right.
And that goes a long way to level the playing field against the government, which has, for practical purposes, unlimited resources. In these two cases against Jack and Duarte Nursery, the government spent what looks like over $2 million just on expert witnesses against them. So, it's our privilege to be able to help these people stand up to the government and, defend not just their rights, but everybody's.
Real quick, I've got a call, and caller, I'll caution you, I've only got a minute left in this segment. Real fast, go.
This gentleman planted a wheat crop. I can tell you where the EPA has tried to literally impose fines on people because they had dust blowing. So the wheat crop would have stopped the dust from blowing, and you see, so that would have been a good thing. But it depends on which arm of the government is enforcing whatever random law they decide to enforce. It's insanity. I'll hang up. Thank you.
Let me ask you this, Tony, real quick, and I appreciate that caller's remarks, and I agree with him about the insanity. But real quick, I've got less than a minute. Who can change this? And are they being alerted as to changing this? Is it the Trump administration? How do we go about changing this insanity?
Well, there's three things, quickly. First of all, we have been, we will continue to ask the federal courts to limit the Army to what Congress authorized it to do, and to basically get the Army out of regulating farming. Secondly, Congress can reinforce what it said in the Clean Water Act to limit the Army's authority over farming operations. But also, the agencies themselves, the EPA and the Army, and this would be a good project for the Trump administration, either now or in a second term if they win one, to reform the regulations that these agencies use to narrow the farming exemption. And I think any of those three things would be good steps.
Well, all I can say is that thank you, Tony Francois with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Absolutely, you laid it out, and it's very understandable and scary. And please come back in the future, and we'll talk more about this, and hopefully there'll be some changes. Tony, God bless you, man. Thanks much.
Thank you, Zeb. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. This just solidifies the wrongs, the absolute wrongs that are going on in our society, to where a farmer, he's out there busting his tail to make a living and provide food for the masses, and then you've got these Looney Tunes under the auspices of the United States Army Corps of Engineers coming in and destroying lives, destroying jobs and occupations, absolutely for nothing. It's shameful. It's despicable. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by our dear friends at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they are the best at what they do. It's tax time! I don't want to say that, so I'm excited. It's tax time. And if you're not ready to go and see these folks, you'd better get ready, because they have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. And they've got two offices to serve you, one in Burley and one in Rupert. And I urge you, on behalf of you, your family, and your business, get a hold of them today. The best, the professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Fairly fairly decent for most of the week, but maybe by this weekend some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting partly sunny skies with a high of about 50. Tonight mostly clear, low of 25. Winds are going to be just pretty much non-existent. For tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 50 with an overnight low of 26. Looks like 53 for Friday. Then by Saturday, partly sunny, 54. Maybe by Saturday night, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast. We are expecting a low of 31. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zep at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you very much. And the weather again brought to you by our friends. These are people that really, really know how to help you, and that's Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And don't forget, with offices in Burley and Rupert, they are the best. The professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Caller, real quick. I've only got a second. Go.
Yes, these people have been in the federal government since the 70s or before that. And if we can get Trump reelected and if we can somehow root this out to a degree, you know as well as I do, it's not going to be easy. But this kind of, meddling it's just, I don't know how you describe it. It's infuriating.
Randy, you know as well as I do that it's a lot more than meddling. It's destroying people's lives, destroying their dreams, destroying their family heritage, and then they smugly walk away with the dust rising around the bills that have been incurred by that farmer to pay for a legal attorney to try to fight these thugs. It's absolutely sickening.
Yes, and see, that's the reason why. Can you imagine if we elected Steyer or Bloomberg? And how they would encourage and re-implement, redouble their efforts with this kind of, intervention in our lives.
I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to even conjure up a thought, whether it's Sanders, Warren, Bloomberg. It doesn't make any difference. They're all a bunch of professional hitmen against the normalcies and the rightness of society. I got to run, Randy. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, buddy. Hey, don't forget, when you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, think about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Todd and the crew, dedicated and responsive to your needs, very devoted to serving you. All you need to do is pick up the phone, call the number, make an appointment, 436-4424, the best. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You get a hold of them today. Gonna run to the news. We'll be back in 6. All righty. Here we go. Hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch. Good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday, February 26th. And, of course, our program brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've got all the tires. They have all the knowledge about tires, and they can help you. They will help you. Stop in and see any one of the 7 locations today. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living. Oh my, this is a beautiful new facility. Seniors, listen to me now, at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh my goodness. 3 meals a day plus snacks, housekeeping, local transportation. What a valuable feature is the community of all the people that live there. They're like a big family. We'll find out more and tour the place. Find out for a time. Call Matt or Kelly Wiggins at 650-4979. Oh, it is beautiful. Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. By the way, quickly, I also want to mention to you about our friends at 7K Metals. I'll quickly get this on before I go to my next guest. 7K Metals, you can invest in your own financial security and create your own bank through silver purchases with 7K Metals. I'm serious. I've been involved in it now for a couple of months. Absolutely wonderful. Creating your own security bank, and then also it's a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. future. Check it out. Call for more information. Call Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259 and find out more investing in financial security through silver with 7K metals. Call Lon or Sharon. Tell them I told you to call 7K metals. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And this book that I have has become so dog-eared and highlighted with different colored highlighters. And I swear he did a very comprehensive job in disputing all the Looney Tunes with global warming. The sky is falling. And I introduced to you the man that wrote the book called Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Gregory Wrightstone, morning to you.
Good morning to you. How are things with you out there?
Absolutely phenomenal, and I always look forward to having you on the program because you're going to tell it like it is. And, you know, I got to tell you right up front, you probably heard that our illustrious, and by the way, Wheels over at the station, we're getting just a little feedback there, our Times News local newspaper really denigrated you and others of the Heartland Institute, your book, etc. Oh, they are advocates of climate change and global warming and the Chicken Little theory that we're all going to die and burn up in about 10 years.
I did not see that. No, I have to look at it.
Well, the thing is...
And it's from your local paper, is it?
Our local illustrious know-all but really know-nothing newspaper, and I'll make sure I send you some of the copies of what they have written. Please do. They really condemned the Heartland Institute and James Taylor and others and basically treated them like a poo-poo situation, unknowledgeable, not worthy of having any respect. Why is it today, more so than ever before, people that are using a common sense approach to climate and the possibility of climate change and or global warming, why are they dismissed as basically idiots?
Well, they need to do that because they don't want to get this information out there to the general. The things we've talked about many times on your show, if it gets, they need to silence people like me and others that provide those inconvenient facts. Because if you do and you get this out, this is common sense, fact, and science-based material that people just don't listen to or haven't heard. And I can tell that. And we talked, I believe, last time I was on, I'd debated a professor at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. This was several months ago. And the students in that room were, they were nearly all brainwashed when they walked in. It was... and I told them things they'd never heard before. And they didn't know that carbon dioxide is at historically low levels. Not carbon dioxide isn't, we don't have too much of it. We don't have enough. And that's based on science, facts, data, and history. And these students came up to me afterwards. They weren't I hadn't convinced them, but they suddenly had an open mind, and I gave copies of the book to each one of them. There were 200 students in the room.
Okay, right there, the book.
So they need to silence me wherever they can. That's why it was so unusual to actually be able to debate somebody. Now, I'll be going down. I'll have another opportunity. I'm going down to Dallas in April. I was invited to speak at the Earth X conference. It's the largest Earth Day celebration in the world. They're expecting more than 200,000 people in attendance, which is wild. And so I'll be down there. I don't know what to expect, but I'm going to have a booth. I'll be selling my I Love CO2 bumper stickers. I need to get you a couple, by the way.
Please do.
And a T-shirt. And then as soon as we hang up, my wife and I are traveling to CPAC, which is the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. We'll be down there. And I will be with the Heartland Institute people. I'll be seeing them, and I'll be talking to, they've got this young German girl, they call her the Anti-Greta, that talks a lot about of the things that I speak about, the inconvenient facts that we see.
You know, I am anxious to have you back on and talk about that, but I want to talk a little bit about this anti-Greta. For those that don't know, the United Nations employed the verbiage of Greta Thunberg, and she basically admonished everybody that was sitting there that the sky is falling and it's almost too late and her generation is going to burn up and everything else. Well, now Naomi Siebert, I hope I said the name right, 19-year-old German, is kind of denouncing and fighting back against Greta Thunberg, and I'd like you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, she's pretty effective. It's not as good. It's good. She's the, like I say, they call her the anti-Greta, and because I think she's 17 or 18 now, and Greta is 17. So there's you got that contrast of this young woman, Greta, going, "How dare you?" and "You've ruined my childhood." We got the other young lady stepping up and saying, "No, the Earth is thriving and benefiting, and things are good." So there's quite a contrast there. And again, I'll be seeing her tomorrow. I'll be on Friday. There's a 2-hour climate change presentations that she'll be speaking at down at CPAC. I plan to attend there, and also meet up with some of the other climate change gurus that they'll have in attendance there.
Explain something to me, Greg, and I value having you on the program for your knowledge, and like I said, I've read your book over and over again. But when Greta Thunberg, says that we, all the nations of the world, had ruined her childhood, doesn't anybody ever look her in the eye and say, how? How has your childhood been ruined? What have you not been able to do? What have you not been able to accomplish? What has been destroyed from your childhood? How come nobody's ever pinning and pushing the issue to really understand how?
Right, exactly. Hers is the most coddled, spoiled generation that's ever been on Earth. She has it so good and doesn't know it. And it's the girl's. She's a troubled young lady, we've talked about that before. We don't need to go into that. But when she says, "How dare you?" and when she says, "You've ruined my childhood," really, your listeners should Google 2 words, Congo and cobalt, and learn about the 1,000 kids, mostly boys under 12 years old, that are used in the cobalt mines in the Congo. You tell them that her life has been ruined. Tell them about how tough she has it. And they're mining cobalt for her precious Tesla and electric batteries and the like. No, she's, again, hers is the most spoiled and coddled generation ever. No need to lecture me on that.
Absolutely. How did this happen to us, that we as a public, we as a country, and many other countries of the world today and their leaders have bought into this climate change, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, we're all going to die in 10 years if we don't do something. Well, what is the do something? Is the do something to eliminate life as we know it, go live in a cave and hopefully find some animal fur to make clothes out of? What do they want, and where do they want to put us, and what kind of control freaks are these people?
Yeah, boy, but they've been good at it, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably the most successful media campaign pushing the BS. I guess I don't think there's any other word to describe it that they're pushing on this, and they've been so very effective. And it's. I don't know. I get frustrated sometimes, but I'm an optimist, and I see people in the United States just not buying into it. I know it sounds. I talk to a lot of people. Look at me and go, "What?" But I do. I talk to lots of people about this. I'm not afraid who to talk to, and I just find that people are just completely fascinated by what I have to say. They're thirsty for this information about how our changing climate, the modest warming, and combined with the increased CO2 are actually benefiting the Earth and humanity. And that's a great story.
Well, Greg, when you, and I'm sure you have, but give us a scenario of you, Gregory Wrightstone, and your book, Inconvenient Facts, walking up to a science teacher at a high school or a college, handing them the book and saying, please read this, and when you're done reading it, let's have a conversation. How can they dispute all the breakdown of the facts that are in your book, and why are they so blinded by the left's theory that we're all going to burn up? I mean, why won't they listen to reason and discuss reason?
Now, because I'm a science denier, they call me, and other people like me, a kook, a tinfoil hat wearer. There's all signs that they can't let me speak. They don't want me. I have yet to speak officially at a university. We've got a couple really strong conservative universities within 2 hours, and I know a lot of the people there, but they've refused to have me come speak. And this is Grove City, which is one of the top conservative universities in the country, and they won't have me. It's very difficult for me to get out there and speak because the people they can have one shrill voice that objects. I got shut down in my own church, Zeb. We may have talked about that. The fellow in charge, he just loves my book. He's bought multiple copies. He wanted me to come to their Saturday morning. It's pretty well attended, maybe 60 people. He wanted me to speak, but they got so much pushback from two people. And he says, Greg, he said this. It almost ended I've known this guy for 40 years. He said we've been in church groups together. We've been at men's breakfast. We run. He's one of my closest friends, and we almost ended our friendship over that. He would not. He was just adamant. There's no way we're going to allow this guy to come in and I talked to actually our ministers there about it too, and I told them, I said, look, I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt the church, and so I don't think you should have me come and talk, and so we didn't. That's what it's like. These people are they go bat poop crazy over it. That's all right. I like to have heads explode and I like to wade into the masses. And in fact, similar to what you just said on LinkedIn social network yesterday, someone had posted they were looking for a person to teach a course on climate change, 30-minute presentation. It was a third grade elementary school teacher, and so she signed me up. Of course, I think she'll be surprised when I give the presentation. It's an online, I'll give it via Skype or whatever. I think she might be shocked at what she gets. But that's all right.
Let me ask you this question and bring me back in time and in history and explain this to me a little bit. Who were the principal players, besides former Vice President Al Gore? Who were the principal players that started, perpetrated, and laid out this program of, at that time, global warming, now turning into climate change? Who were the principals, and how come they were so well respected in their theory?
Yeah, well, probably the first was James Hansen. He was former NASA director, and he testified before Congress, I think it was 1978. And that day, the Democrats were in charge, and he was testifying on this new climate change alarmism. And it was in August. They turned off the air conditioning and opened up the windows that afternoon to make it sweltering hot. So when he's up there talking about global warming, everybody is sitting in the Senate just sweating profusely. Oh, we got to do something about it. He was one of the early ones. He's still very active in this. And of course, the fellow, of course, Al Gore was popularized this with his book Inconvenient Truth, and then the movie, which has been thoroughly debunked. The notions of man-made catastrophic warming in both of those. But there's one thing we should talk about, I think, is you and your listeners may have heard last week. It was reported about this giant heat wave in Antarctica.
Yes.
If we could dive into that.
Yes.
It was reported hottest, warmest temperature ever in Antarctica. And what they failed to mention was it was 65 degrees, and the warmest at that particular station that they had ever mentioned. What they forgot to mention was the northernmost point of Antarctica, the northern tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. And bear in mind, it's in the southern hemisphere, so the farther north you go, the warmer it gets. So they didn't, and then also the reason it was warm didn't have anything to do with climate change, but rather they're called foehn winds, Foehn. They're similar to the Santa Ana winds. When you have this air rushing down from high elevations along mountains, it just warms up naturally and turns very hot. Just like the Santa Anas, we see the same thing there, and everyone there attributed it to these winds that came down from high elevations. So that doesn't mean, and I looked, so it would be as if they said, if the report was, North America just experienced its warmest February record ever, and then they forgot to tell you that it was measured at Key West. Very similar situation. And then I was in New York City last week, Zeb. I went up and taped a segment with Steve Hilton of Fox Nation, for Fox Nation, their subscription service. The panelist that was on with me was a wild-eyed, raving climate alarmist. And she was going on about one thing. I couldn't, just one lie after another. And she said, just last week, it was the warmest ever on Antarctica, and Antarctica's melting. It was 65 degrees in the middle of Antarctica. No, it wasn't. It was 65 degrees at that northern point. I had checked earlier, the day before, at the South Pole, it was minus 22. So she was only off by, 80 degrees? And I said, no, it wasn't. But that's the thing, you get these people that pick up on this stuff. The media doesn't. It just reports it dutifully. Anything that has to do with climate change, there's no fact checking involved, and they run with it because, again, they need a frightened population in order to enact all these bad things like the Green New Deal and Paris Climate Accord.
Well, one last thought, and I've only got about 3 minutes left, Gregory, but pardon me, you mentioned church, and I know that you're a Christian man. I am, and I like to announce that I believe in the Bible and God. And why is it today more so than ever before? Even church members and even the clergy and many others think that man can do more for the climate and or the change of climate than God. I have said for a long time on this program, God has his hand on the thermostat, and man really doesn't have any controls.
Yeah, you're so right about that. I don't know. That's a deep one that everyone has their own opinion on that. But it does seem that. And I can't let that worry me though, and just be a good example and do what we can to spread the news.
I want to hear exactly what happens at CPAC. I want to know all about your different confrontations and meetings with various groups, and especially when you go to this next convention of thought that you're going to talk about your book and other inconvenient facts. Please know that you're always welcome on this program. Don't hesitate to call. I'll rearrange the schedule and have you on the program. Gregory Wrightstone, thank you so much for being on the program. But quickly, where can people get a copy of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know?
It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Most people buy it on Amazon. Inconvenientfacts.xyz is a great source. You can buy it direct there without having to pay Amazon their pieces of silver. And so that's, inconvenientfacts.xyz is a great resource.
I appreciate you, Greg. God bless you, and I'll look forward to the next time I'm having you on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Outstanding book, and like I said, I've got a copy of it right here in my hand as we speak. And for those of you that are watching on the network of television cameras that I have for this program on ZebBell.com, I'll hold it up to the camera. You can see it. I'll move it over so you can see it. Inconvenient Facts by Gregory Wrightstone, and excellent book. I highly recommend it. Let's see. Oh, I want to remind you about our friends at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Now, I said yesterday, and I stand behind this, I've got to get Curtis or Lorena on the program, and they can talk to us all about the Pioneers NEX or Networked Entertainment Experience line of receivers. Holy moly, you're talking to a cowboy here. And when it comes to all these wonderful electronic modes and methods, I'm going to defer to them coming on the program this next week. I'm going to have them on the show, and they're going to tell us about all the different things they've got. I mean, my goodness, they've got all the home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, all your TVs. I mean, everything. And they're such nice people. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. Really great folks. Oh, and let's see what else have I got. Oh, my friend, I saw Jeff last night. Yeah, Jeff was at the basketball game. I'm talking about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Holy smokes, they've got almost everything on sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I mean, if you're looking for a new recliner, new sofa, new love seat, dining room sets, they've got it all right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I mean, a selection extraordinaire. You get on in there and work with the wonderful people that are there to help you with the beautification and comfortization of your home. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Caller, I've only got 1 minute. Real fast. Go.
Yeah, on the subject of global warming, I think we could use some of that right now because it's downright cold out there. And on the subject of climate change, I'm ready for the climate change to a warmer time when spring comes.
All right. Rodney, always appreciate you, my dear friend. God bless you. See you at Lunch Bunch. Appreciate it.
Yeah, see you there.
All right, buddy. We're going to send it over to Wheels. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my goodness sakes. I am so honored to have this next gentleman on my program again. He's appeared here many, many times in the past, and he's got a brand new book out called Real World Socialism, Spiritual, Moral, and Economic Bankruptcy Sold by Using False Hopes and Deceit. And I'm going to say this before I introduce him. This book should be mandatory reading in every high school and college to get these kids back straight on the path of understanding what's really going on. Good morning, Dr. Gerard Lamero. How are you?
I'm doing terrific, and it's great to be on your show with you.
Dr. Lamero, your book, I took it to Arizona while I was gone for 3 weeks, and I'm going to tell you this is a must-read. This book has got to be read by the 30 and under millennials and the teachers of those millennials. I mean, this is a must-read book to get people thinking straight again.
Well, I intended to have it do just that. I knew about a year ago from my study of trends and that the big election issue this year was going to be socialism. And by the way, it's turned out to be correct prediction. And at that time, I said, I need to write a book on socialism because most Americans don't know what we're dealing with socialism. Most people don't get taught it in schools. They get to hear this grandiose thing about you help everybody is helped. They get free cell phones, they get free health care, they get free everything. And I said, that's not reality because the socialism I've read about is a lot different. And it turns out it is a lot different because most of these people that try socialist experiments, their countries go bankrupt.
I'm going to say this, and it's very simplistic, so help me break this down in your terminology. Bernie Sanders, socialist, communist, in the lead for the Democratic nomination for the presidency. How? That's the simple question. How?
Well, how? It's been building up. These trends have been going on for a while. Generally speaking, the last 20, 30, 40 years, the socialists and the communists in this country, and there are some who are, it's not a big group, but there are some, and that, they have been inching along trying to talk people into socialism and communism. And by the way, those words mean the same thing. Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, you may have seen that in the book, believed that those two words meant the exact same thing.
Yes.
So don't let anybody fool you. Communism, socialism, they're one and the same. And they got lots of other fancy names too, but it's one and the same. But they have been working behind the scenes quietly. They wouldn't dare to admit what they believed because they knew they would never get elected to office. But nowadays, they think they've got enough control in Hollywood, enough control in the media, enough professors in universities and school teachers that they can now get away with saying it, and that people think it's a wonderful, wonderful philosophy, but it's the opposite. It leads to spiritual bankruptcy, moral bankruptcy, economic bankruptcy, and the countries that have tried it are in miserable shape.
Dr. Lamero, in your research and the studies that you've gone through, and by the way, the picture on the back of your book showing you at your desk, I really am envious because my desk has never been that neat. When you did all the study for this book, how did America become so naive into thinking that socialism should replace capitalism?
Well, there are a lot of false hopes, grandiose promises, and just plain deceit involved. And there's a chapter or two in the book, as you probably noticed, that talk about what went on. There are many different things that came together that helped us along, but it was pretty well planned out. Let me go back to Russia, communism in Russia, the terrible, terrible socialism there where millions of people died in Russia. And what I was going to tell you there, just a quick story, is Joseph Stalin, a dictator at the time. He wanted to promote socialism and communism all over the world. One of the things he said was, if we control the movies, we control the minds of individual people. And so he told the Communist Party in the USA, go after Hollywood, and they did. And they got a lot of influence, radical leftist influence in Hollywood that lives on till today.
Absolutely.
But that was Joseph Stalin, the communist dictator in Russia, that promoted that.
Absolutely.
And there's stories similar to that in other areas of our country where the communists and the socialists kind of got involved and got power centers, and they wanted to influence this country, and they were afraid to come out and be honest because they would have lost their jobs. But now they think they've convinced enough people where they can get away with telling people the truth, and the truth is terrible.
Let me take this call with a question for you, Dr. Lamero. I've got 1,000 other questions for you in a limited time. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. It's nice to see you back.
Thank you.
You know, we've got so many people that's pushing socialism. Most of them are these druggers and, you know, people that are not on the right side of the law to start with. You know, they're out to tear up this country any way they can. They just want to destroy us. And it's the sick, perverted people that just have absolutely no morals. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in babies. They don't believe in anything worthwhile. All they believe in is getting high on dope, getting drunk, watching these horrible movies, and they are horrible. We need to outlaw them. It just makes me sick to think what's happening out in our world.
I'll have Dr. Lamero come back to you on the air. Thank you, caller. God bless you. I appreciate it, my dear friend.
You have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
I appreciate that, Jerry. Thank you so much. Dr. Lamero, would you respond to the caller, please?
Well, I think he's absolutely right that there's a group of people. He picked out something that's very important and shows up in my book, and that is it is its own fake religion. They are against Jewish people, they're against Christian people, they're against family, they're against marriage, they're against life. Oh, they can't stand life. They even want babies killed if an abortion fails.
Yes.
It's called infanticide. These people are against all the basic moral, spiritual principles of most religions in the world. These people are based in atheism. Karl Marx, who started socialism in terms of its using that term in a popular sense all around the world, he was the grandson of a famous rabbi, Jewish rabbi, and he rejected his Jewish faith and heritage. Instead, he was an atheist. And so many of these people who have gone in the direction of socialism and communism, they're a bunch of atheists. They can't handle religion because religion would never let them do the things they're doing. And by the way, Bernie Sanders, he is a socialist, and he's a communist, and he's an atheist.
You know, Dr. Lamero, we've got another call coming in, and we'll take that, and then I've got another question regarding how do we turn this around. Caller, good morning. You're on the air, please.
Yes, Zeb, good morning. It's good to hear you, my friend.
Thank you.
What I called about is I just got into radio range, and the communist thing, from what I can gather, is like your guest is stating, it didn't happen over one generation. This happened from right after World War II, and it's been building. Even before, it's been building and building and building. And the thing that surprises me is the American people in a whole are not stupid. We are not a dumb nation. However, our education is lacking such that the generations gone by, like your generation, for example, Zeb, and my generation, that the schools have changed in that much time, and including now, that they took out the history. And I bring up history because history is very, very important to a nation. Without history, you cannot place your future in the proper direction. Without knowing your history, you don't know the evils of the past, and you can't learn from the past. They say hindsight's 20/20, but if you obstruct the history, then the hindsight's not 20/20 anymore. It's way off. And so I feel the way that we need to get back to this is elect the right people, get the right teachers in the right positions in our schools and our educational system to bring back and show the atrocities and the horrors of not just socialism and communism, but the other atrocities that are happened in the past that nowadays generations don't want to look at because it might hurt their feelings or they might get nightmares. And I got news for them. Life is a nightmare if you don't control it. Life will eat you alive if you don't take a hold and say, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can, and this is how I'm going to do it. Zeb, I took enough of your time. Thank you very much.
God bless you, caller, and I think it was very well stated. Dr. Lamero, your thoughts?
I think this caller is very bright. Your audience is really smart. They're on top of things, and nobody's pulling the wool over their eyes. And congratulations for being smart and intelligent and knowing what's going on. These people are doing exactly that, and the reason they wanted to control the schools and the colleges was to influence people. And the way we're going to turn this around is through better education, and that's going to take some effort on everybody's part. I wrote this book because I wanted to educate people on what socialism is, and I call it real-world socialism because it's about real-world stuff. It's not about phony promises that they don't keep. It's not about a bunch of lies and deceits like, oh, we're going to take care of everything. We're going to give you free lunch. They're even talking about giving everybody a free salary even if they don't want to work. Does that make any sense? How quick is it going to be before we go bankrupt if they did stuff like that?
Absolutely.
And by the way, about the schools, we do need, as the gentleman said, better teachers put in place, but you know what? We need school boards. We need people who are running the schools, and we've got to make sure that they are putting people in who teach things like American liberty and teach the Constitution. And, there are school districts around the country where conservatives have run for school board and have won. And there's even one I can think of that actually requires the Constitution be taught in the schools now that they have conservatives running the school board. That's what we've got to do. We've got to take back our educational system.
You were on this program many, many times in the past, and I remember one program very vividly when you made the statement and a prognostication, being a political analyst, you really studied this. You had said, and I can't remember the exact words, but you had said this election is going to lead to the demise, fracturing, and possibly the permanency of the Democratic Party going by the wayside. Do you still maintain those thoughts?
Yeah, and the words I said were, and I remember it because I've had to quote it many times, and that is, we will see the end of the Democratic Party as we know it. They have gone so far left, they have gone so far away from the average American voter, they have gone so far toward totalitarian thinking and shutting down free speech in colleges and all the stuff they've done. They've gone so far off the deep end, the American people are leaving that party, rejecting it. Many of them planning to vote for Trump. But you know what? It's going to be such a devastating loss for them this time around in November. And I think the House is going to go Republican again. And you know what? I think the Democratic Party will finally shut down. I made that prediction back in 2015, and I said then, I don't know exactly when it'll happen. It's hard to predict the exact timing. But now it looks to me like it's going to be such a bad loss for them in November that next year they'll shut down as a party. And if you think about the history of America, there have been a number of political parties that came and went. The Whig Party elected several presidents in the 1800s back then. You know what? You never hear about the Whig Party. They went out of business. And the Democratic Party is on the verge of going out of business.
Dr. Lamero, it goes without saying that the moral structure in America has been absolutely burned to the ground, and we are a house divided, if you will, with a deep chasm in between conservatism and the regressive liberalism that they're trying to preach. Do you see anything as far as optimism of America coming together with pride of country, pride of our past in the future? Can we heal this nation?
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, my book, let's see, it was book number 4, I think, that I wrote, Great News for America. That is the great news, that we are coming back together. I saw these trends coming, that some trends take 30 years to take place, believe it or not. And what I said back in that book, which I wrote in 2015, was that the trends are all lining up. They're all lining up for America to turn conservative, to turn back to the Constitution and its roots. And we will come together again, and we're in the process of it. And getting rid of these socialists that are going to lose in election after election, that's just going to make it happen faster, because it's happening across the country. People are rejecting them.
I want to urge everybody to get this book, but before we kind of sign off for today, we're going to take one more quick call. Caller, real fast. I'm down to the last 3 minutes in this segment. Go ahead, please.
It won't be long. I just want your guest's opinion on what he thinks the likelihood is that the Democratic Party will just split apart into two factions, one extremely progressive and communistic and the other more moderate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lamero, please.
I think it's going to shut down. I think it's so badly divided that, well, in fact, I think most of the moderates bailing out left and right. No, I think what's going to happen is they're going to lose bad in November, and the Democratic Party itself will shut down next year. And I think that what will happen is a new party will come out into existence, and the new party will be sort of like the Mitt Romney party. It'll be liberal Republicans who can't stand the conservative Republican Party. So I think that's going to be the new party, but they're going to be a minority party because you know what? People rejected them, too. They're certainly not even close to being a majority. The majority are going to be conservative Republicans.
This man is my friend, and I absolutely enjoy having him on the program, and we're hopefully going to get him on more frequently in the days ahead. The author of a book that you must read. It's called Real World Socialism, Spiritual, Moral, and Economic Bankruptcy, Sold by Using False Hopes and Deceit, written by my friend, Dr. Gerard Lamero. Sir, God bless you, and thank you for being on the show this morning.
Well, God bless you and all your listeners, and I recommend the book for college students and high school students. They need the help.
Amen. Dr. Lamero, I'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye now.
All right, sir.
All right.
Excellent book. And, boy, I've read this book, and I'm starting on my second time, as a matter of fact, and I urge you to get a copy of this book by Dr. Gerard Lamero, Real World Socialism. It is excellent. Excellent. You know what else is excellent? Going to Edith's Cafe. Listen to this. They are having a special today and tomorrow, prime rib French dip sandwich. Prime rib French dip sandwich. Oh, my goodness. I got to get over there. They're located at 144 East Highway 81, right across from the golf course in Burley, Edith's Cafe. And I looked through all the menu items and everything and all the daily specials and the desserts and everything. Call your friends and neighbors and relatives, everybody. Be there at Edith's Cafe. And don't forget, they do catering, and, of course, they've got an event center. They've got delicious steaks and, like I said, daily specials. And today and tomorrow, that prime rib French dip sandwich. Oh, good eating at Edith's Cafe. You stop in and see them today. Right now, let us get to the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew, and you can go to their website and see and read about all the delicious meats from Scarro's Meats. Go to www.scarrowsmeats.com. Absolutely, the delicious pork ribs and the tri-tips and the breakfast sausages and, of course, all the different bacons. Oh, my, you're going to love it. I guarantee it. Scarro's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Fairly decent for most of the week, but maybe by this weekend some snow showers. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting partly sunny skies with a high of about 50. Tonight mostly clear, low of 25. Winds are going to be just pretty much non-existent. For tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 50 with an overnight low of 26. Looks like 53 for Friday. Then by Saturday, partly sunny, 54. Maybe by Saturday night, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast. We are expecting a low of 31. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zep at the Ranch.
There you go. Thank you, Gina. And, of course, the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, boy, the day is almost over, and I've got to tell you about our dear friends that are our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, they've been with us a long, long time on this program, and I urge you to stop in for the best of tires, the best of brake service, I mean that, and, of course, front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. It's all there, along with the best of taking care of you, the best of service at any of the 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. You know, they really do provide the best in service. They really want you to come in, get what you need as far as your tires, brake service, whatever, and drive away carefully and safely with great service. Doing the right thing matters, and it has since 1952. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, I urge you to stop in and see them today. And we say thank you for their sponsorship on Zeb at the Ranch. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What have we got cooking tomorrow? We've got the Cache County School Days. We've got Penny's going to be on with the Chamber of Commerce report. We've got Cordell Sheridan coming on talking about his big bull sale. It's going to be a jam-packed day tomorrow, and we urge you to tune in. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we wrap up the program every day by saying proudly, the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most: in God we trust. Have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. Wheels, take it away.